Hey, Bodhi, how are you doing?
Really good. How about you?
I'm good, I'm good. It's nice and hot in England this week.
Is it? Yeah, well, I'm still stuck in Canada. Like I told you before, I've been living in Mexico for the past few years in the jungle there. But I'm in Canada right now and it's pretty warm. Are you guys on Fahrenheit or Celsius?
Celsius.
Yeah, we are too, and it's about 30 degrees Celsius here right now in Canada,
Oh.
where I am in Calgary, Alberta, actually.
All right, but during the winter it's very cold, isn't it?
Yeah, like minus 40, minus
Yeah.
45.
Yeah. I had a yoga teacher who used to live in Canada, and she said to me that she used to open a yoga studio at 6 o'clock in the morning when it was minus 40. And I said to
Yeah,
her, you must have really loved your job then, if
yeah,
you
no
was.
kidding. Hey, yeah, it gets pretty dang cold, I tell you. Oops. But no, it's really nice here during the summer. You know, we get the big thunderstorms and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, I miss Mexico a lot. That's what I call home. I'm born and raised in Canada, you know, in a place called Calgary, Alberta. But Mexico is what I call home now.
Right. So I was going to ask you, how did you end up in Mexico? But first of all, could you tell me a little bit about yourself, what you're up to these days?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. So my given name is Chris, but you'll see it displayed everywhere as Bodhi. The reason I go by Bodhi is it's been my nickname my entire life because my last name is Shabodiak. So everybody rhymed it with Bodhi Shabodi. I was called that my entire life. So I went through that, and that kind of leads me to the story of, you know, like how I came into my spiritual, calling and all that kind of stuff in my shift. But anyway, so I'm Bodhi Shabodiak, born and raised in Canada, and I made a move out to Mexico about almost 4 years ago now. And it was the best thing I'd ever done. Never been to Mexico, didn't know anything about it, but I had that calling. So right today, I own a couple companies. One's called Sanctum Circle, Your Healing Your Space. And then I have another company called Entrepreneur Fit, which is launch it, grow it, own your space in any industry. And they're both basically the same kind of platform, but different demographics and different services. So Sanctum Circle, what it is I've created a subscription-based platform where anybody in the world can subscribe for free, no strings attached, no obligations, and they get access to literally every single health, wellness, healing, holistic, and fitness service and or product all in one place, all at an exclusive discounted rate. So we offer things like breath work. We have Reiki by distance. We have child psychologists, cancer coaches, autism, dementia, Alzheimer's, nutritionalists, menopause coaches, addiction, literally anything you can think of. And I started that a couple of years ago. And right now we've got just over 250 partners who offer services all around the world, mostly virtual, but we do have in-person people. And we've got just over 5,000 people subscribed in a short time. And then Entrepreneur Fit, same thing. People subscribe and they get access to every business services like accounting, bookkeeping, web design, getting incorporated, LLCs, health and dental benefits, business coaching and marketing, all of that kind of stuff, all in one place, all at an exclusive discounted rate. So my goal is to take my corporate skills, because I was always in corporate before, and now I'm in, the more of the health and wellness holistic side of things, is to bring communities together. That's my forte. Like people say to me all the time, well, you have this business, you're not a coach or anything. And they always say, I never said I was, but I'm a shepherd. I'm extremely good at connecting people and, really showing them the best ways to collaborate with each other. So now I've got the health and wellness holistic community with the business service community, and I've successfully merged them together. So now my Sanctum Circle people use Entrepreneur Fit to start or grow their business, and Entrepreneur Fit's using Sanctum Circle to become healthy, healed, and fit. So it's a very unique platform. It was so unique that I caught the attention of Joe Dispenza. He actually contacted me, and if anybody out there who knows him. And so I met with him last June in Cancun, Mexico, because I was living in Playa del Carmen. And so now he's coming on as a supporter. That's how our subscription rate grew so quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I've got one last project on the go. I lost 3 friends to suicide, one before, one during, and one after the pandemic. And, I knew them extremely well. And, we're talking to their families and the people that I knew, and just knowing them they were so empathetic that they didn't know how to separate their issues with their clients' issues. The issue became one giant issue and became very convoluted, and they just felt that it was overwhelming and there was no way out. So I sleep with a notepad beside my bed, and I always come up with ideas, and I either, either do them or I don't, right? Like bring them to fruition or not. And so I came up with one here that's in development right now, and it's called Healers for Healers.life, because those three people I knew, they were healers and coaches, and I've worked with tons of healers out in Mexico and in Canada and the UK. And so we're building that so they have a rejuvenation zone, a healing zone, and just to learn tools on how to separate their empathy with their clients, and all that kind of stuff, and keep their light bright so that they can still keep it going for, their community and their clients. And one last thing I wanted to say is, with Entrepreneur Fit, mostly, and Sanctum Circle is my baby, but I love them all. We didn't want to just be another directory where people pay some money and they slap their name on it. Hopefully they make connections. We significantly build every single one of our partners' connections, communities, collaborations, and their visibility and their business. It's very unique, very inexpensive. And we bring them in and give them, like at least 10 services, one-on-one services and networking avenues that will build their business inside and outside of our platform. So it's not a fad. It's just something that's catching on. And I'm very passionate about it.
Oh, yeah, I can tell. So when you said about Sanctum Circle and Entrepreneur Fit, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, you said that it's free subscription. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
I must say, this is very generous and kind of you. And I wanted to sort of ask, what inspired you to create such a unique and easily accessible platform?
Well, I'll tell you. So like when our partners come on, they're the ones that, and I'm very transparent. That's how we generate our revenue. I'm in a non-profitable stage right now because I've learned three things in life. You can't build a house, a relationship, or a business without a foundation. So I'm building a very strong, thick, solid foundation, before I can get into a profitable state. But, it's funny you asked me why I did this. I was talking to one of our healers this morning that's part of Sanctum Circle. And she's very intuitive, as am I, but I was telling her I built this business for all the things I've always needed. I came from, like a really tough childhood. I'm telling you, it was rough. And I was conditioned that PTSD wasn't real. I was conditioned that if you ask for help, you're weak, you're a loser. I grew up thinking everybody in the health and wellness space were all flakes, man. Like I'm telling you, I was arrogant and ignorant, but I was still drawn to it. So I know myself with being an old soul. I've been in this universe many, many times, and this time I was put here kind of fresh, but I still had that same draw to the health and wellness, healing, spiritual side of things. And so I'll tell you a little bit on, what drew me to this is, so like I said, I grew up thinking everybody in the health and wellness space were just jokes, driving around in my suit and ties and my BMW thinking I was all that, but I was still so drawn to the holistic and healing side of things and spirituality. And it was just before the pandemic. This went viral all over the world, but it happened in Canada. Is my daughter had a couple girlfriends over, and they were around 17 at that time. And I knew these other two girls since they were little kids. And they were at my house, and they went to go home. And I told them, text me when you get home. That's the rule, right? So I know you got home safe. And not even 10 minutes later, one of the girls came running back and said, Bodhi, there's 4 guys at the end of your street trying to take us into their vehicle, and they're being very sexually aggressive and physically aggressive with us. And they still have Chelsea down there. I have no fear when it comes to helping people. Okay, I'll take a bullet for anybody, but especially young, kids and all that kind of stuff. So I went down there with no fear, and there was 4 guys there. I got the girls to safety, and these guys didn't like it, and they brought a baseball bat out and they split my skull from here all the way back, and then stabbed me with a knife in the temple here, and then jumped on me and knocked out my teeth here and cracked my jaw. And when I got out of the hospital, they were standing there looking at me like, how is this guy even alive? And when I got out of the hospital, I'm a very affectionate guy because I didn't really get that much as a kid. That was their generation. It's not my parents' fault.
Yeah.
But Like if my daughter tried to lay her chest on my, or lay her head on my chest, I would instantly be like, hey, back up, and it almost split up me and my girlfriend at the time, because if she put her arm around me in bed, I'd jump right out of bed ready to defend myself, right? Like and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So everybody kept saying you have PTSD, and I called bullshit. It was like, it's not real. Those were my thoughts at that time. So I discreetly and confidentially reached out to a PTSD coach. He made my life 10 times better. He's one of our Sanctum partners and a dear friend of mine. And then he introduced me to childhood trauma coaches. That made my life 10 times better. And now I'm believing, and now my spirituality is starting to recognize my past, right? So my major passion is fly fishing, right? Like that's where I don't even care if I catch fish, but I've been doing it my whole life. And when I'm standing in a glacier river in the mountains, to me, that's where it's washing my soul. It's where I'm rejuvenating. It's where my thoughts become things, and so and I have ADD, so I totally just forgot what I was even going to tell you about that. Oh yeah, and then so my two best friends were my dogs, and that's Gibson and that's Taya. They were with me for 15 years in the mountains, like never leashed up or anything, and they lived for 15 years, and they were 110-pound dogs. One was a wolf cross shepherd, and the other one was a Burmese mountain dog, and Gibson died 4 years ago this past April, and I'm very spontaneous, and I sold everything in my home in 4 days, including my car, my condo, packed a bag. That's all I had left is my suit. Oh, you can't see it, my suitcase. And I went to Mexico without even knowing anything about Mexico. I didn't have an Airbnb booked. All I knew is how to spell it, and I heard Cancun was nice, so I went. And you don't mind me telling this story right now, do you?
No, please go ahead. I was going to ask you actually a few things, but carry on. Please carry on.
Yeah, so when I just changed back to my nickname just before I went to Mexico. I'm like, hey, my best friends are gone, my dogs, and my daughter's all grown up. She doesn't need me in Canada anymore. So I flew out to Mexico, and when I landed, I'm not kidding you, Yana, every hair on my body stood on end, and I just had this whole tingling feeling, like I had like a sense of like being at home, and it was so weird. So when I got off, it was like it was so familiar, I couldn't even believe it. And so I didn't even have an Airbnb booked, and I got off the airplane. I walked out to the front of the airport with my one suitcase, hailed down a taxi like I'd done it a million times before. And he's like, where are you going, amigo? And I said, I have no idea, man. Where's nice? I said, I don't want to be in Cancun. It's too big. Because when I flew over and I saw how big it was, I was like, I just want out of that city. So he's like, there's Playa del Carmen, Tulum, or whatever. I was like, let's go to Playa. So he took me to Playa. During the taxi, I booked an Airbnb. He helped me take in my luggage. I didn't even look at the Airbnb, and I went out and I just wanted to walk around and go have a beer or a cerveza on the beach, right, in the Caribbean. And this was all in my first day. So this is how my spirituality was reawakened, And I met this Canadian guy. Fortunately, I just met this Canadian guy, told him my thing. And he's like, don't be walking around Mexico like you think you can in Canada, man. It's a little different here. That went in one ear, out the other. I was like, you know what, man? Like, I'm not afraid of anything, but I'm also not stupid, right? So I just walked around like I've been there a million times. I felt like I was. I stopped at a little cafe called Cacao. And this lady came around the corner. She's my business partner to this day. She's from Argentina, and she's wearing this long white dress, long blonde hair, very unique looking lady, just absolutely amazing. And she kept staring at me, but not in a romantic way. She was just looking at me, and it didn't weird me out or anything. And finally she came up to me and said, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. She said, long story short, she said, you're carrying extremely strong energy with you. It's extremely light, like good for you, but you're also harboring extremely dark energy. And I said, okay. And she said, do you want to come to the jungle with me tonight and meet my shaman, and we'll clear some of that energy for you? I was like, sure. And so I talked to this Canadian guy again. He's like, so what are you doing, man? How's it going here? And I said, good. I'm going to the jungle with some Mexicans and some Argentinians, shamans and healers. He's like, don't go. He's like, this is how, he's like, haven't you ever seen that movie Taken? He's like, this could be very dangerous. And I was like, whatever. So I went. It was the most beautiful experience in my life. And after I was done all that, the healing work and sound baths and light work and all that stuff, this shaman, he's an 82-year-old man named Daniel from the Mayan. He said, can I speak to you by yourself for a moment? And I said, sure. So he said to me, he goes, what's your given name? And I said, well, how do you know it's not Bodhi, right? And I said, it's Chris. And Bodhi means nothing to me at this point. And he said, well, why'd you go by Bodhi? And I said, it's been my nickname since I was a little kid because my last name's Shabodi or Shabodiak. So people would say Bodhi Shabodi my entire life. He's like, that's all it means to you? And I said, yeah. He said, are you familiar with the Bodhi tree, the tree of life? And I was like, no. And I'm not sure if you are or not, but so the Bodhi tree is a tree that the very first Buddha had sat under for X amount of hours to
Oh,
reach
yes.
enlightenment and nirvana. So
Yeah.
he said, you even spelt it right. And he said, when did you change it? I said, just before I came to Mexico. He said, okay, so this is fitting the pieces very well. And he said, tell me how you felt when you came back to Mexico this time. And I said, I've never been to Mexico before. And he got very stern with me. He said, yeah, you have. He said, how did you feel when you got here this
Yeah.
time? And I'm like, I said, every hair on my body stood on end, man. Like, I just felt like I was at home. Most emotional moment of my life. He put his hands on my face and we walked in the jungle a little bit more. And he said, let me tell you why you felt that way. He said, we called you back home.
Yeah.
He said, in one of your past lives, you were from the Mayan. And he
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
that's why you feel so comfortable. That's why you went by Bodhi. And it was at that moment, it was like years of university had just attacked me all in a period of like 2 hours, and all my spirituality came back. And I remembered everything. And so he said to me, Roxanne, who brought you here, has never brought a single soul to me in the 20 years I've known her, brought somebody to my home except for you. So he's like, do not take this lightly. It was that day I started our other, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention this. We have an event platform called Wellness and Light. And that's where we bring together all health, wellness, healing, holistic fitness people. We all wear white to represent the color of healing. We go barefoot on the beach. We have drumming circles, fires, and we just connect people with each other. And people speak on the microphone, all that stuff. And we had 100 people at our very first event, my first 2 weeks in Mexico, and that carried on. Word got out. I got asked to go speak in stage in 11 different countries in Europe, starting in England, ending in Denmark. Oh, no, and then Ireland. So I went through that whole channel. And so it just morphed into Sanctum Circle. And we brought everybody in from Canada, US, UK, Mexico. Now we got people in Australia, China, South Africa. So
Oh.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So I went off. I didn't mean to go off that
No,
much, but
that's fine. Don't worry about it. I was while you were telling me the story when you said when you arrived in Mexico, you felt something.
oh yeah.
That's what I was gonna say to you. You lived there in previous lifetime.
Sorry, say that again.
And when you said when you landed in Mexico and you felt something,
Yeah,
I was gonna say to you that you've lived there in a previous lifetime, and this shaman
yeah.
actually told you this, yeah. Because I experienced something similar when I went to Cambodia. I felt when I went there, I felt like the people of Cambodia are my people. So you can feel that even though we don't exactly remember our previous lifetimes, we can feel it when we are at a particular place at a particular time. Um,
Yeah.
what I was wanting to ask you is, so you said to take a little bit back, you said you used to work in the corporate world. So was it that
Yeah.
incident with those young girls that sort of made you realize that it's time for you to step away from this corporate world and focus on something a lot bigger?
It was that. And I also started getting a feeling before that happened because I did very well in my corporate job. I was in oil and gas and I was in heavy equipment, all that kind of stuff. And I just started getting this feeling before the pandemic that I started feeling like a kid at the bike rack at a new school sitting by himself, not knowing who to hang around with,
Mm.
and I started getting that, but like they were my friends, but I was being drawn somewhere else, so it was at that moment that I knew that shift was coming. And then the pandemic came, or then I got my ass kicked and all that stuff. And that was a blessing. Like, I love it. Like, I'm so glad that happened.
Yeah.
And, then the pandemic came, and it was a blessing for me because it gave me time to self-analyze my life and where I wanted to be, and gave me a lot of time to think. And then I don't know why I'm back in Canada right now. And my mom always asks me, she's like, why did you come back? I'm like, I don't know. But it's funny because I have a heart condition now. It's called pericarditis. It's fluid around my heart. No big deal. Doesn't phase me one bit. They got me on some crappy medication called prednisone, but I haven't experienced any side effects from it. And they told me that I would. But, another thing that prompted me to start these businesses is my mom got advanced stage 4 cancer in her mouth. It was melanoma
Mm-hmm.
inside the mouth. And they removed her whole face and rebuilt it with bone from her leg and her back. You wouldn't even be able to tell. But like even the surgeon said, he's like, I can't believe your mom survived this, man. Like nobody survives this. And they said, it's all right here.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember people saying to her, this was only like 6-7 years ago. I remember people saying to her, oh, Debbie, I'm sorry about your cancer. She'd be like, what cancer? She's like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I'll just beat it. Like, no big deal. Then my little sister, she got stage 4 rectal cancer from Crohn's and colitis. She's my half sister technically, but I don't like to say that. But it was her mindset that beat it. So when with this heart thing, it's not fatal.
No.
I mean, I think there's 2% of people that pass away from it. But I'm young and strong, and there's not, like I've learned that when you have an illness, you need to respect it. You need to understand it. You need to respect the power it has, but you also need to let it know that it's not going to beat you. Yeah. Right. And that's the mindset I'm in. I wake up every day. I do not feed it. And if there's something negative in your life, the only way to starve it is quit feeding it. Right. Yeah. So I don't feed it any recognition or anything, but I do let it know I understand, I respect it.
Yeah. Well, I often say that having a cancer or diabetes or any kind of disease is like a wake-up call. And it's also, I don't want to, get into conspiracies and things, but it's the system's way of keeping you in fear, because when you're in fear, in your low vibration, and when you're in a low vibration, you can't achieve the life you want. And you're being controlled.
I agree. 100%.
I wanted to ask you, actually, in your experience with spirituality and holistic health, have you noticed how shall I put it? Have you noticed if people have become more open to holistic approach over the last, let's say, 5 years?
Well, I haven't been in this business for that long, but
okay, since you've been in the business.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm that kind of guy, and this might make a lot of people frustrated with me or anything, or people who are in Canada. I will not follow politics. I haven't watched the news in over 20 years. I refuse to. It was to the point that when the C word came about, the pandemic, I remember walking into the big chain we have here called Costco, and everybody was wearing a mask and I wasn't. Yeah. And then they're like, where's your mask? I'm like, for what? They're like, COVID. I'm like, what's COVID? Yeah. I was that out of tune with all that kind of stuff. And I just was like, I'm not want any part of this. And I went right back to Mexico. But so I still believe in
fine in Mexico, if I remember correctly at the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was some people that wore masks and stuff like that, and there was the odd restaurant that would, make it mandatory to wear a mask and all that kind of stuff. The only thing that I really didn't like out there is there's so many expats, US Americans, Europeans, all that kind of stuff. And there'd be a lot of places on, like, say, gatherings, networking events, or restaurants that would say, if you're vaxxed, you're not welcome. If you are, or if you're not vaxxed, you're not welcome. So they were segregating everybody, and it was horrible. Like, I remember one girl, she taken a liking to me, and we went on a couple dates or whatever. And then she threw the question at me, are you vaxxed? Because if you are, I can't continue this anymore. And I said, I'm not going to give you the answer to that. And I said, if that's what you're going to judge me on, it's the same thing as you judging somebody based on their skin color. And, and then this is just my thoughts. So anybody listening, I'm not against it or anything like that.
You're entitled to your opinion if people don't like it.
Well, sure. But, they're telling me, they're like, well, no, if we're intimate, you can pass that vax on to me. And I'm like, holy man, has the news ever got you by the balls here? Like, holy smokes, so I just segregated myself from the whole situation, and it was funny when I went to Mexico, everybody here was like, the politics are going to follow you out there, and the pandemic and all of this kind of stuff and the drama. And I was like, maybe. When I got to Mexico, I didn't speak the language, right? So I was out there for a year and a half and didn't even speak the language. And, I came back and people were like, what's the politics like? What's the government? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't speak the language, so I have no idea what's going on the news. And everybody I meet is talking about the dolphins they saw, or the live band they saw, or the clear water, or the excursion they went on, or the jungle monkeys, all that kind of stuff, And I was like, I never hear anything negative out there. So that's why it just drew me so much to it. And those Mexicans, they're the nicest, caring, loving people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, Mexico is nice. I've been there
many
years ago, and it was a beautiful place to visit, I must admit. I went to some of the temples, and I remember one of our tour guide was Mayan man, am I saying it correctly? And his
Yeah.
knowledge about the architecture of the temples was absolutely incredible. Things that you wouldn't see in a book or online.
Yeah.
It's a very spiritual, very special place, Mexico, yes. About just I want to go back to Sanctum Circle and Entrepreneur Fit. So if people
Sure.
want to get involved in these projects, I'm going to include all of your links, by the way, in the description anyway. But if people want to get involved, what do they need to do?
Oh, you know what? Just reach out to me. Most of my stuff is word of mouth now, that I'm on there. But I mean, I'm not hard to find. I'm the only Bodhi Shibodiak in this entire world. So I mean, it's not hard to find me that way. But yeah, I don't. You can look up Sanctum Circle and follow us on the social media pages or Entrepreneur Fit. But I am looking to partner with anybody who's in the health, wellness, healing, holistic side of things. Um, I'm very particular on who we bring into our platform because I know I used to get people to fill out a form, right, to be a part of Sanctum Circle, but I started thinking, you know what, I can't feel their energy. They can't feel mine. So I started going to these Zooms, and I'm not joking to you. I do probably 8 to 10 Zooms a day with people with
Yes,
interest, but I can speak to the frequency and hear the frequency and feel the energy of my entire community. So when I have these Zooms with people, some people are not the right fit. They don't have the right energy. And my life and my businesses are all built on an acronym called ROE. I don't know if I made it up, but it came to me in my head. But it's the return on energy, where we can give it, receive it, share it, and understand it. So when people come in our community, we want you to connect. We want you to engage, all that kind of stuff, because this day and age, everybody's using social media as a tool, which it can be very useful. But social media was designed for us to connect with each other. It's doing the exact opposite now. And, there's so many great groups out there, and you offer great things, Yana. I offer great things. And so does Tom, Jill, Harry, whoever. We all offer great things, and we put it to social media, and it's all oversaturated, and we're not getting any engagement, no acknowledgement, none of this stuff, because it's too much. So I created a group on Facebook, and if you guys want to find me there, it's a group called Everything Health and Wellness, and we've got over 8,000 businesses in there that will collaborate with you and work. I'm very selective on who we bring in, but because with social media now this day and age, or with even platforms, people get addicted to what I call hopium, not opium, but hopium. And I think I explained this to you before, is where they get addicted to it and they hope somebody likes their post. They hope somebody connects with them. They hope. And our community is alleviating that hope. It's a do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can find me on Everything Health and Wellness under Bodhi Shibodiak, Bodhi, and then just type in CH and you'll just find me right away. But yeah, there's many ways, or go through Yana. Her and I are connected. She's amazing. Love your energy.
Oh, thank you. I'll include your links in the description. So what's next in the pipeline for you? What's the next big project? You said you were working on something.
That was that Healers for Healers. That'll be my my last project there for in the spiritual side. Well, that's a lie, because I'm not very good with an idle mind, you know what I mean, or idle time. I am so inefficient. Is that a word? Anyway, so inefficient when it comes to having nothing to do. So, I mean, that's another reason I'm in Mexico too, because I can go to the ocean, I can go for a swim, I can go fly fishing out there, all that kind of stuff, right? But so I don't know. I'm sure there'll be a couple other projects that'll happen, and they're, I'm still young, so. But anyways, it'll be Healers for Healers, Entrepreneur Fit, Sanctum Circle, Healers for Healers. That'll be the main thing there, and then I'll probably throw in a couple other things as we go.
So, is there a website or some kind of platform for this project, or it's still work in progress?
No, it's just work in progress. It's being built there.
Right.
But anybody can go to sanctumcircle.net and they can get a free subscription. We're every day improving. So if it's slow, that means there's people working on my website and all that kind of stuff. But we don't want to just completely stop that safe place for people while we're in the middle of renovations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll still keep it going. So you can keep that in mind. But yeah, that's about it, really.
Yeah, that is a very beautiful story, actually. It's almost like one of those movies that you watch of people telling something, how they work really, really hard for someone else, and all of a sudden something happened and they had a wake up call. They took the red pill.
Right. And like it's funny, so many people are like, oh my God, this is such a great business. It's so unique. How did you come up with it? I'm like, it's not mine. I came up with the name and a little bit of the concept, but that's again going back to the foundational partners. I couldn't have it without them. You know what I mean? So even when I'm speaking on stage or whatever, I always make sure and say, everybody, there's a bunch of people in this audience here that it's their business too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, people who
So
are on the top, that's the difference between someone who's running a business and someone who works for someone else. When you run your own business, you don't forget those around you. When you're
yeah,
in a
you can.
manager, yeah, when you're a manager or director in a big corporation, it's all about profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
not.
I mean, we all got to put food in our bellies and
Oh
shoes on
yeah,
our
yeah,
feet and a roof
absolutely.
over our head, and but it was funny when I was in the corporate world, I had no empathy. I'm telling you, if I walked in and I was going to get a sale, I was going to get that sale. There was no grind in me, nothing. I was going to own it. Now that I've came back to my spirituality and had this reawakening and this familiarity and all that kind of stuff, now I'm the empathetic guy. Like I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, I wish I could do this for free, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I think our time
but
will
I
come.
mean,
It will happen because I think in the
yeah, for sure.
future, it will be more about exchanging energies rather than exchanging money because we still live in a world that it's driven by money, and we're
Yeah,
just gonna have to find a way around it.
yeah, for sure. And that's what our community is all about. I mean, if we start engaging and supporting each other, like it'll make a world of difference. I'll never be that guy that says I'm changing the world. That's a pretty bold statement to do, say, you know what I mean? But I mean, if we can change one person's life, we've changed their
Oh,
world, right?
absolutely.
And
Yeah, yeah.
that's that I've changed my world from it,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah, it's pretty powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me today. And like I said, I'll include all of your links in the description below. And hopefully, this video will help more people to, empower themselves and to find something that they have been looking for.
Yeah, I would love that. And, I would love to talk to you about you being a part of our community. I think you bring fabulous energy, right? And with the manifestation and mindfulness and all that kind of stuff. We need people like that in our community. And I know you fit that ROE, I don't know what you want to call it, but, that realm of people
Yeah,
who understand, right?
yeah, yeah. Sure, I'll be happy to. I'll be happy to. Yeah. But yeah, that's it from us for today. Thanks everybody for watching and have a great time. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Yana.